it is all about race then?
It's not all about race. You know, we have an ANC government. Hold on.
All right.
Be-
But you
because
said there's
they-
been black liberation.
Yes, that's why I'm saying there has been black liberation. Now I'm explaining why I say there has been black liberation. We have the ANC controls the government of South Africa. It controls the parliament of South Africa. It controls the police of South Africa. It controls the army of South Africa. So now my sister here says she wants black liberation. I have been asking her during the interval, she needs to explain to us who is being oppressed by whom and how is she going to liberate
I think
these people?
Simpiwe has answered that for
No,
us.
she didn't. She
No.
said she's not blaming white people. She didn't say white people put her into the informal settlement. But now you're not dealing with my question.
Sure, no problem. But you asked two questions. Who is being oppressed and who is doing the oppressing? She's oppressed.
By
People who live in Tembelihle are oppressed.
By who?
Maybe we need to answer that question. Kone?
I think we should look at all the facts. I can assure the gentleman and the lady, unfortunately, that I can assure you there are some white informal settlements today in South Africa.
How many?
Yeah.
Where? Okay. How many white people are living in squatter camps?
If you don't like the facts, it's no use to shout. You have to accept that
How
there's a
many?
reality. Obviously, in terms of percentages, it's a lesser percentage.
Lovelyn?
For me, an ideal South Africa would be a South Africa where we have white maids, white security guards, white people in informal settlements, and then we have more black people in positions, you know, as more black lawyers, more black accountants, more black people living in decent housing, etc.
All right. Ayabonga, who's doing the oppressing?
Look, I think it's a combination of the historically white entrenched and established interests in South Africa, combined with, of course, this new black elite that Utatu Mbeki is talking about. I mean, if you think about BEE, all it is just crumbs trickling off the white table in service and in perpetuation and in continuation of the original project.
I just want to say something. You know, the most disempowering, destructive and devastating racism is not personal racism. The penny sparrows can spew as much racist filth as they want to. It doesn't kill anyone. You must address the fact that the ANC left intact, virtually untouched. This, when Malema and them speak about white monopoly capital, it's not a myth. It's a devastating reality in the lives of people.
Yeah.
So, you know, the question of the black elite, it's true they're feeding from the crumbs that fall from the table of white monopoly capital, but what you also need to address is that the intra-racial, meaning within the black population, growing class inequalities has now outstripped the interracial inequalities between black and white. This is it. The Anglo-Americans, all of these people dominate this economy. This jobless bloodbath that Bhavi speaks about is a direct consequence of the fact that this economy, where it's a powerful country, we live in the most powerful city in Africa, Johannesburg, and people are living in shacks. That is the most important racism that's linked to to institutional structural issues that I want to hear more about, and I'm not hearing that. I don't want to talk about the penny sparrows. Thanks.
All right, thank you very much. All right, so we're going to take a short break. You are watching The Big Debate.
Julle kan ons erfenis vat. Wanneer julle het ons nasie gevat. Ek het vir my mense voorheen gewaarsku dat julle is ons land se eie gif, a disease that must be contained into townships. Please understand that snuffing out your lights at night was our way of keeping our hopes alive and yours from resurfacing.
No. Wait. I'm sorry for my blood. That not enough of it was shed, that the blood on me was always yours, not mine, that every step I take leaves footprints in your blood. I'm going to breathe in and dissolve, reconstitute myself in the air, throw my bones for you, bonfire my skin as sacrifice, freeing myself for me, for you, for the stars that shine white in the black sky. No, wait, they shine jewel colors and the sky is blue to purple. No, wait, the stars are fading. The sky flashes blood red. settles into velvet. The moon is yellow-orange. Colors roam only in browns, and I can finally breathe. Because I am the small particles of dark I have always been, and I have nothing to do with explosions. No. Wait.
You forget to mention that whiteness was a prerequisite, so I guess the helix of your DNA is the corporate ladder that you climb to be above us. Even our flag segregates us, betrays us, by trading in the fields and goals that you bought with our blood on our land.
Welcome back to the big debate on race, inequality, and whiteness. I'm Masachaba Ndlovu, and you've just been listening to Tshepo Molefe and Sarah Gottsell, who is a young poet. They both are. Sarah happens to be the daughter of Bobby Gottsell, the former CEO of Anglo Gold Ashanti. Thank you both so much for making the time to be here. That was one heck of a poem. And the part that particularly stood out for me was when you said you're sorry that not enough of your blood was shed.
The poem is supposed to be an apology that shows that it's never big enough, that it's never enough, that's the no wait. And you've also referenced my father. I'm living in a legacy that I'm trying to undo.
What do you mean when you say that you are living a legacy that you're trying to undo?
I'm trying to find ways to live that will actively speak to the project of disrupting whiteness, of disrupting myself, but at the same time, not wanting to make it about me. The point about education, land speaks to wealth, which speaks to education, you know, so how everything is tied, and how I can address all that aspects of that in my personal and whatever other capacities that I have.
So do you think capitalist, wealthy, white families like the Ruperts should give away their land, give away their money?
Yes.
All right. All right, so Monique, I'd like to bring you here into the conversation. We've heard a poem that absolutely captures white guilt. Do you feel guilty?
I feel that I don't have to apologize because I personally did not take part in apartheid. And in my heart,
So
I
can
feel
we say
sorry.
no?
Yeah, I
You
feel
don't feel
sorry for
guilty?
each and every person that was disadvantaged by apartheid. But you can't say that young people today still have to apologize. We also want to...
I don't think anyone's just asking for an apology. I think that happened with the TRC. So, Wanelisa.
You know, Ms. Chaba, I'm sitting as a black, poor, dispossessed woman in this country and having to listen to Monique saying she's not guilty. But I'm living under white supremacy right now. And we skip away of the violence of white supremacy because we talk about the township, we talk about poverty as things that are it's just irrelevant. That lady's story is so powerful because it's the story of my mother, it's my story, it's the story of every black person in this room who has been dispossessed, who lives under violence every day in this country. So I'm sorry, Sarah, I don't want you to live in ways that you want to give back the land, because I want to take back the land, because for me, psychologically, it's very important that I take back the land. You don't give it back to me because it was taken back forcefully under colonialism. So I want to decolonize this country. And maybe if it means that an army of black people in this country take arms in order to do that, then maybe it needs to happen. But I'm tired of these debates. I'm tired of these debates.
Is that progressive or regressive? Do we need to have war for that to happen? I don't think so. What do you think?
When you've taken the land back, make sure you give it to the rightful owners in terms of the truth. Give it to the Khoi and the San people there. Yes! They are the rightful owners. If you want to take back the land, give it to the rightful owners. But you see, the problem is this.
So are you saying that black people are also not the rightful owners of this land?
If the black people are the rightful owners, where did they get the land?
Is that what you're saying?
No. History is much more complicated than that. Much more complicated. And we can go and have a look at that. But it's a myth. It's a myth to just claim that everything belonged to this and nothing belonged to that. It's a myth. If people start talking about war we are in a very, very dangerous situation. It's very easy to incite violence. You don't know what you're talking about, and I would suggest that we all move away from that.
Wait a second. Hold on a
that.
second.
And luckily I know that the majority of people in this country from different communities are not interested in violence. They are not interested in conflict and war. Those are side elements that should not be allowed to destroy the fabric of social cohesion in this country.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Social cohesion.
If you want my land, you can come and take it right now. I've never owned any land anywhere, ever. I'd like to make a proposal, though. Right? In all these debates, a lot of people forget, right, that our government actually owns almost half of all the land in South Africa.
No, that's not true. Don't lie. Don't lie.
At national,
Don't lie. You're lying. You're lying.
At national and
You're
provincial
literally
level, it's 24%, and at municipal level, we don't really know, but
You're
we estimate
literally
about
lying.
25%.
All right, let's let him finish.
Also, the government owns a lot of national assets in terms of state-owned enterprises, right? And a lot. It's not only the big guys, right?
Get your
Why
facts
would the government
straight.
need to own a diamond mine, right? Now, the government could, in very short order, right, make a huge dent in economic inequality. I'm not saying it's going to solve all the problems, right, but make a huge difference, right, by giving that back to the people. Right? It used to belong to the apartheid government, now it belongs to the ANC government. Right? Go along with the Freedom Charter. Say, let the people own these national assets. Right? They did that with Telkom. They did that with Telkom to an extent.
All right. Okay. Henny, are we destined for war?
I don't think we should wish for war. I think, Masachaba, we speak easily about it, and I understand our frustration, but I think we must, in respecting those who fought for our freedom and who have fallen, we shouldn't wish this thing back upon us. But equally must, and it is our freedom for all of us and a responsibility to act. And I say equally for white people to act responsibly. And while we talk about the land issue, and it is fundamental, I think equally we have to talk about our economy. We have to say every year about 300 billion rand leaves this country in capital that very wealthy people own, which they move offshore. It's a fundamentally unpatriotic act that happens of undermining the future of this country. It's that which we need to equally hold responsible, to say to those who have money that we are going to look at ways in which that money must be reinvested in the future of all of our people.
All right. Thank you very much. We're going to take a short break. When we return, the final word from our and white privilege. South Africa is certainly more divided than ever. What will it take to create a real non-racist society?
I think it's very important for us not to individualize this issue, because I do think that we are already in an incredibly polarized condition at the moment that's been rising over the past few years. So the thing is, we are in a situation of contestation. Let's keep up that political contestation around ideas. What are the best models? What are the best ways to dismantle whiteness, dismantle white privilege, and look at but to throw out the constitution in the process, to say we need a war to fix this, I think is actually not actually giving credence to the lives that were lost, to the very hard battles that were fought.
I think we need to understand that there is no vehicle in this country that is being used to drive social cohesion. Apartheid fell after de Klerk had a whites-only referendum, after the sports movement was crippled in this country. I think we need to look at a vehicle that can drive us forward. Roads must fall indeed, but there's lots of other things that need to fall along with it.
When land was violently taken from black people, it was taken as a resource to life, to access to life. When 35,000 families own 80% of the land in South Africa, they own the economy of South Africa. The struggle towards building a new country that is black, because South Africa is first and foremost a black country that should portray African values. That struggle should only be led by black people.
I incidentally don't share the idea that the problem that we're dealing with here is whiteness. It's capitalism. The deal that was signed at CODESA was calculated to preserve the ownership of the commanding heights of the economy, the banks, the mines, the big commercial farms, and so forth, in the hands of the capitalist class. The basis of that agreement was that ways would be opened for the aspirant black elite, represented by the ANC, to be given some crumbs in the form of BEE, as I think Moeletsi Mbeki in his book about the subject has so eloquently explained. I'm not interested, by the way, in a society in which we are ruled by black billionaires instead of white billionaires. We do not want any kind of billionaires at all, so that the wealth of this country is owned and controlled by the overwhelming majority. We don't want equality of poverty. What we want is equality of wealth.
Steve Biko questioned whether there would be space for all of us at the rendezvous of victory. And the thing is that there can be space for all of us, but the onus is on white South Africans to recognize their unearned privilege, to realize that white racism is self-destructive, and to commit themselves to use the power they have to advance transformation. It's a decision that white South Africans have to make, and unless they make the right decision, they are endangering themselves, and there's no one else to blame.
It's been very disturbing to hear comments like, how disempowered am I really if I'm able to go to an institution of higher learning? Firstly, you do not know the cost at which that came. Black kids have to go and prove how poor they are just to get a loan from NSFAS, and then you are not poor enough. So you still can't pay your loans. You need to, so that was very disturbing. And secondly, you cannot continue to tell us that education is the key and not the land when black graduates are standing on the street corners with signs.
You're watching The Big Debate. When we come back, closing statements from our panel.
I'm an optimist, I'm a positive person, and I think that we still have wonderful things to achieve in South Africa. But we have to celebrate our diversity. Together we can make a success of this country. I'm committed to do so, and I think the majority of our people will do the same.
Loveland.
I think that in as much as the systems of oppression have benefited people at a group level, I think that at a group level, people have a responsibility of undoing those systems. And so when people say, what must white people do to undo their white privilege, it needs to be a very deliberate daily action. It means paying your workers better. It means respecting black people. It means not talking down to black people. It means, allowing and even, reducing the amount of space you take so that other black people can just feel human and dignified in a space. It has to be deliberate, and I think this conversation is not going to end until it's deliberate and until white people are as uncomfortable in their own skin as black South Africans have been.
Sarah.
I really just want to echo those statements that it's an active process of working towards disrupting whiteness, of working towards decolonization, and that no white South African should feel comfortable in their skin.
I mean, who cares what I think, really? I think that the most important decisions in this country are not mine to make, and that the sooner white South Africans realize this is a black country, the better.
I believe, as I said, inequality is unacceptable, must be changed. I think racism must be rooted out. I think intolerance, as I've seen in this debate, must also be rooted out. And I do think that if we take the Constitution and we take the Freedom Charter, that the land belongs to everyone who lives in it, white and black, we can go forward. Thank you.
All right.
The thing is, if you antagonize different groups and different races, right, this is only going to go one way, and that's going to end up in war, right? Now, there are solutions. There are ways of dealing with this, and the government can make a huge dent in inequality simply by its own policy towards state-owned enterprises, towards state-owned land, and how, for that matter, it regulates business.
Thank you. Datembeki.
We have seen the war in Syria, what it does, and I strongly discourage those who think it will solve the problems of South Africa by us fighting amongst a civil war amongst us South Africans.
Thank you.
I think the discussions around not inciting war are based on not understanding how the concentration camps, currently known as townships, are actually war zones. There's an urgency for Black people to be able to breathe in their own country, in their own land. And that's a necessary process that needs to happen. And decolonization on a structural level, the economy, education, medicine, everything needs to happen in this country. And you know, if foundations like the De Klerk Foundation, by criminalizing young people who are angry, who can't breathe, who are in so much pain, in a violent system, is only just, as this gentleman behind me had said, is just speeding up that process.
Thank you. Abraham?
Land restitution is important. Economic redress is important. You can't just say, as long as you overthrow capitalism, then you'll have attain total societal transformation. That level of reductionism actually makes nonsense of a very complex project that you're involved in.
That's not cool.
What potentially makes nonsense of our democratic project must be the concentration of power in the hands of small groups of people. Ultimately, I think that is what the fight against racism is about, and equally what the fight against the ownership of the economy in the hands of very few people is about. So I think for us to be able to look at a future as a country, it has to be to dealing with economic inequality and dealing with the power that very, very few people have in our country and the dispossession that results in.
Thank you, Henny.
I think it is very important to keep on with this debate and to keep it honest and frank. So, so everybody should be heard and everybody's view should be respected. I strongly believe that education is a crisis in this country and that will help to dissolve inequality. So there is 80% of schools in South Africa is dysfunctional, and that is unacceptable.
Thank you very much. Well, it seems racism is not just about attitudes. It's also about the power to harm other people's lives. And in South Africa today, millions of Black people's lives are damaged by an economy and a society which is rigged in favor of the rich. And the richest South Africans are still mostly white. Can we find a way to build a truly just society for all South